Hey y'all, welcome to the Filling Station. It's a new day, another opportunity to either make money in the market or to just learn from the market, right? So let me go ahead and give my disclaimer, y'all. I am not a financial advisor. I just enjoy teaching people how to build generational wealth. And yeah, the stock market is just one of those avenues. So this video is for educational purposes only. With that being said, y'all, let's get started. So we are looking at the VIX. And as you can see, the VIX it was trading in this zone around the 1398 to 1411. We did hit a high of 1417 or 1416, but now we're under the 5 EMA. So that's interesting to watch, right? That 1398 was support. Now we're at the 1390, which we could very well come back down to the 1361, but we got some economic data, not a lot like endpoint. I think the 10-year is coming out, or some type of information. Let me say that it's coming out, y'all, today. So I would say definitely be careful because it could, send us in either direction. So the levels that I will watch for is above this 1417, and as you can see, we are up slightly from yesterday's close, which we are finding support on this 1 hour at the 1388. So if it holds at this 1388, we can bounce back to the upside. If not, we can continue back to the downside, which will and then send VIX down, SPY up. I always have to say that. That's crazy, right? So let's go to the SPY. And right now the SPY closed at 529.81. We are down. It hit a pre-market low of 526.30. So we are down on the SPY for pre-market, and yesterday's low was 527.11. So we have broken through yesterday's low, which is interesting. So I would say definitely trade carefully today. It looks like we're trading in a zone here. The support at this point is the 526.30, and our resistance will be around here at the 526.96. So those are areas that I would definitely watch the SPY. If we break above the 526, let's say 526.97, 526.96 area, we could come back up and test that 527.11, but keep in mind that's where we got rejected yesterday. That was support for us yesterday. It's resistance for us today, and we are slightly above the 5 EMA, which is good. So 526.81 is the 5 EMA. If we should break the 527.11, just know that we have trouble at 527.47, which is the 20 EMA, and that 50 EMA is right at the ATR trailing stop around the 528.32. So I would definitely watch the SPY in this area. Keep in mind yesterday's resistance, support and resistance that we had marked at 528.82, 528.94, and we are well under that at this point. But again, it looks like it's trying to bounce slightly here. But 527.11 is what I will be watching the SPY, where I will be watching the SPY. Now, I have a gap to the downside for the SPY, and I need to go back and make sure just to confirm that. But 525.18, 523.83. So it starts at 525.83, and it from 525.18, it's where it will start to the downside, and it will close at 523.83. So I would definitely watch the SPY if I traded that level. Again, that 526.30 below that could very well send us back to that 525.18 area. Just know that we're going to have trouble or support at 525.84 and 524.61. Those are some places that I have marked as support for the SPY. Looking at it on the higher time frame, the 5 and 50 has crossed on the 4 hour, which is a bearish signal for me when that 5 and 50 crosses. So we definitely need to watch the SPY to see if we're going to continue to the downside. The SPY normally moves about $3.71 per day. Looking at it on this daily chart, as you can see, we are creating a gathering spot. We kind of been trading sideways for a while. So this little cool off area, it needs to make a decision right up or down, right? Because we've been making new highs, it would not surprise me to see a cool off period, to come back down and then, gain some support and bounce back to the upside. So if I traded the SPY today, y'all, I always say trade carefully, wait on your charts to give you, a signal as to what it wants to do. And when it goes against your why, get out, right? So we are looking at Tesla, and Tesla closed at 176.75. And I have pre-market support and resistance at 174.85 as support, 175.42 as resistance. Again, I always go to the 4 o'clock candle, and as you can see, we are moving in this zone. I always call it the no trade zone, right? Tesla got slightly above this 174.85, which it's trying to break above the 5 EMA. Again, this is the 30-minute chart, and it needs to close above that. Just know that we're going to have trouble again at this 175.42, and again at 175.59, which is the 20 EMA. And again at 176.32, which is the 50 EMA. Now, if we break back to the 177, that's the 200 EMA and the ATR trailing stop. I always say that's double trouble, right? So we have to watch that area to make, if can Tesla do it? It absolutely can. Absolutely. Tesla is Tesla. I always say that, right? So those are the levels that I would watch: 177.24, 176.33, 175.60. Those are trouble places, and 175.42 are trouble places for Tesla as of now. Again, when the bell ring, it's go time. Anything could happen, right? So as you can see on this 1 hour chart, Tesla has been moving in this zone for, it's keep coming back to this area here. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Tesla come back down to the 167, 160 area. It just wouldn't, based on how the charts are looking, in my opinion. Again, I just look at it and see it a little bit different. Let me say that. Tesla normally moves $6.84. We could very well come back and fill this gap at 158.30. That's the start of the gap from 4.3 all the way down to 147.26. Just know that is possible, considering we've been moving sideways, and it looks like on this daily chart, the 5 and 50 has not crossed yet, but it looks like it really wants to cross. So again, if I traded Tesla today, I would say trade carefully, allow the charts to lead you and show you where it wants to go. Just keep in mind, we are moving up. It needs to break above this 175.42 and close above that area. So let's go to NVIDIA. It's interesting. Let me say that. NVIDIA closed at 1139.01. We had a pre-market high of 1152.70. And it looks like we have broken out of our gathering spot, which is interesting here because it was hanging at this area, 1134.62, for a while pre-market, and 1140.05 was our resistance. We are above that, which is above the 5 EMA. So NVIDIA can keep climbing. Just know that 5 EMA is our support as of right now, 1142.97. And if NVIDIA moves normally, let's say $36.88 per day. Just keep in mind there is some gaps here to that downside that will need to be filled. Not saying that that's going to happen today. I'm just saying trade carefully. Looking at it on this 30-minute chart, just know that if it closes below the 5 EMA, below the 1143.04 area, then support is right here at 1137.03, which is the 20 EMA. And that area, we've been holding for pre-market support. And if we should break that level of 1134 area, then just know it could very well come back down and retest this 1122, which brings us right to the ATR trailing stop. So that wouldn't surprise me to see it come back to this area. And 1115.35 is the 50 EMA, looking at it on this 30-minute chart. So those are areas that I would definitely watch for NVIDIA. And just keep in mind that $30-something that it moves it can move in either direction. 36.88. It can move up 36.88 or down 36.88. And again, the ATR is just an average of what the stock normally moves, how the stock normally moves on a daily basis, right? So we do have an inside day candle, which is Netflix. And I'll give the trigger for that. So if Netflix breaks above 649.71, then the target is 651.90. If it breaks below 643.04, then the target is 637.63. I would mark those levels. Netflix moves really interesting. It reminds me of SMCI. So I would say if I traded Netflix, I would trade carefully. Keep in mind, Netflix normally moves about $14.23 per day. And looking at it on the daily chart, it looks like it's been creating a gathering spot. So it wants to move. There's going to be a breakout at some point in either direction, up or down. I would say just trade carefully, right? So I think Microsoft is another inside day candle. Microsoft normally moves $5.90 per day. Keep in mind, if it breaks above, let me go to the 30-minute chart. If it breaks above $430.78, then the target is 431. If it breaks below 426.63, then the target to the downside is 424.37. And right now we're trading in this gathering spot. As you can see, this is our 4 o'clock candle. So support would have been right at 427.45, and the resistance at the 427.70, although we did test this 428.34 area. So I would definitely watch Microsoft if that's something that I trade carefully, y'all. So again, looking at JP Morgan is also an inside day candle. If it breaks above $200 and $200.74 is the target. It looks like it's want to trade to the downside. We are under that trigger, which is 198.66, which gives a target of 197.56. It closed at 190.50, so we could very well come down and reach this target of 197.56. If I traded JP Morgan, I would say trade carefully, y'all. It moves $3.53 per day. And looking at it on this daily chart, it's been creating a gathering spot, so it could very well break to the downside. So I would say, yeah, trade carefully. Make sure you have confirmation as to why you're entering your trades. It is an inside day candle. So let's see. AMD, let's go to AMD. Bank of America is a double inside day. That's why I have that one listed. So it tells me that whatever move it's going to make, it may be a strong move, but it doesn't. The ATR for Bank of America is only 65 cents per day. So if you trade a Bank of America, I would definitely watch above 39.74, gives a target of 39.78. And we have already, as you can see, broken through 39.11 to reach that target of 39.07. We are under the 200 EMA. Looking at it on this 1 hour chart, it looks like we're trying to find support here, but again, it has already met its target to the downside during pre-market. Can we continue dropping? We can. Anything is possible, right? So I always say, y'all, trade what you see, pay attention to your charts. So we are looking at AMD. AMD is so interesting. It looks as if on this 30-minute chart, the 5 and the 50 is crossing. So that is interesting, right? I had pre-market support marked around this 169.11, but as you can see, we've come down a little bit here at 168.89. So and it's declining. 5 and 50 cross, it is dropping. Just know that we will have support right here at 168.61, again at 168.05, 167.66, and 166.99. So those are support places for AMD. We could very well continue down to 166.07, which is the 200 EMA. So AMD would need to get back above this 50 EMA and this 5 EMA around the 169.54. Just know, again, we're going to have trouble at 169.67 and 170.17. It looks as if it's trying to break out of this area to the downside. So I would definitely, if I traded AMD, I would say trade carefully. Again, when the bell rings, I always say, y'all, it's go time. Anything can change. Anything is possible. So make sure you have confirmations. This is the 1 hour chart. Looking at it, we are under the 5 EMA and the 20 EMA. We're still trading in that area of, gathering spot is what I like to say. It did come down, but I would watch the 168.61, 168.55 area. If it breaks below that, we can continue to the downside. And again, AMD normally moves $6.17 per day. Looking at it on this daily chart, we did come up and try to break through this ATR trailing stop, and as you can see, we got rejected and came back down. So in my opinion, it's still creating a gathering spot. It hadn't made a decision on if we're going to continue up or continue down. I always say, y'all, trade carefully, trade what you see, and do not rush into those trades, right? So let's go back to the VIX and see where we are. VIX is still below the 5 EMA, so it needs to break above this $13.99 or $14 area. If it does, it can, go back and retest the 14.11 or the 14.17, and that will in turn send the SPY to the downside. So let's go back to the SPY just to get a recap. The SPY just tested that 427.11 here and got rejected at 8 o'clock. So I would say definitely be careful. We're still under that 526.97 area, which we had marked as resistance. We are under that. If it breaks back under the 5 EMA, 526.79, we can continue to the downside. And again, 526.30 is the pre-market low thus far. And again, SPY does have a gap from 525.18 down to the 523.83. So I would definitely watch those areas if I traded the SPY, y'all. So again, I hope these videos are very, very helpful. This is pre-market. Anything can change when the market opens, y'all. This just gives us a guide as to how the market is moving and what we can use as support and or resistance, right? So I always say, y'all, I hope that everyone have a very profitable day, a very productive day, and I always like to leave you with this: be blessed as well as a blessing unto others. Until next time.